All right. Hey everyone, Mark P. Markets here. How's it going? Hope everyone's having a nice day and enjoyed their holiday. Welcome to another Greenbridge Investing Market Analysis. My name is Mark in case you don't know me. And in today's session, I'm going to talk about the Bitcoin levels, all right, what to consider now, because there are some interesting inflection points on the chart and some interesting price action around those levels. So it's very important to recognize what's going on in order to anticipate what is likely to happen next, whether the market delivers that scenario or not. Okay, it's about being prepared. Okay, also, I want to get into what's going on with the stock market. Remember, it's a holiday, and that's going to affect volume. I also want to take a look at the cannabis sector real quick because there's some interesting activity there, and as you know, laws have been changing and structure has recently changed in those stocks. So there may be some opportunities coming up, over the next, at least the first quarter of the new year. All right, so with that being said, let's get this started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. If you're new to Greenbridge, please make sure you register for the channel here. Also, if you can, please press the like button if you like the video. And check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email, portfolio management ideas by text, by email, and we have a chat room. By the way, this is our pricing page. If you go to greenbridgeinvesting.com, this is how our packages work, very quick. We have our active investor, we have Dave's chat room, and it's $299 for 6 months. That comes to about $50 a month. If you choose the yearly, it's $399. That comes to about $33.25 per month, something like that. Okay, the reason why we do that is because in order to really benefit from our longer term strategies, you need to be in this more than a couple of months. As many of our members that have been with us for a year or two know that because they've participated in quite a few of our nice winning trades. All right, so just wanted to mention that real quick. Again, we have a 7-day free trial. Go to greenbridgeinvesting.com, check it out, come to the chat room, say hello. We also have a free chat room. You can come over there and say hello. We got people in there asking questions, and we're happy to answer them. Okay, hey, Ramana, nice to see you. All right, so for those of you that don't know how this works, please share your symbol in the chat room, in the YouTube chat right now, the symbol or the market that you'd like to see. So once I complete my portion of the analysis, I can run through your charts, okay? So let's begin actually with the economic calendar. Now, obviously it's a holiday week, okay? And there's only 3 major events that show up on the calendar. And let's see, on 12/30, German retail sales, and then China NBS manufacturing PMI. All right, those are not major market movers. So this is a quiet week in terms of economic news, which makes sense, right? It's the New Year week. People are away. What's important to realize about these situations with a holiday week is volume. Volume gets very low and you will see unusual things. It's very possible. Now, if some really dramatic news comes out, you can get a very dramatic move because there's no volume. Often, I've seen these environments for years and years and years. Usually what it turns out to be is a slow grind and a lot of inaction, okay? And volume usually doesn't return back to normal, meaning like average volume, probably about a week or two into January. Now, I'm not talking about putting volume bars in the bottom of your chart and saying, oh, look, it's a little lower today. I'm talking about in general, okay? It's anecdotal, just coming from experience. But, usually it's a lower volume week because the large players that can move markets are not moving markets like they normally do, right? The volume is just missing. So retail traders, even though there may be many of them, they don't move markets. Now, so let's first talk about Bitcoin here. And again, if you have any questions, please ask along the way. I'd be happy to answer them. And please share the symbols that you'd like to see in the chat. So let's talk about Bitcoin levels. Now, for one, I want to highlight something. We sent out a message yesterday to our members about closing the position that we had taken a few days earlier, right? Okay, and we sent that out because why? Because of this bearish pin bar that developed right here. And I'm going to draw a box around it so that you can clearly see that. This right here, okay, the bearish pin bar. Now, we never took out the low of that pin bar, so the exit may have been a little premature. But the thing is, we weren't really into taking any chances here. All right, the trade was nice and profitable. We were in from what, 24,150. We sent that out. We had to take a little pain on it, and then we had that nice move, which again caught a lot of people off guard. Now, the bearish pin bar off of this 27.5 inflection point, that's pretty significant, right? So I saw that, and Andrew said, should we send out the signal? I said, yeah, send it, because this thing can easily pull back. Now, we have not pulled back, right? Now, today we have an inside bar developing here. It looks like it's going to close pretty decently. And if it closes like that, with that inside bar, we will then have a potential long setup again. Now, I am not about to send out a swing trade signal at this level, even though there may be a potential long signal there. I am not going to send that out. If Andrew wants to send it out, that's up to him. But I don't like this level. I don't like the bearish pin bar. And I know that probability does not favor, a continuation like this. I want to see at least some sort of consolidation, not one candle. Now, speaking about Bitcoin levels, the next level that I have on my chart is 32.5. Okay, here, let me draw a box up there so you can see clearly. 32.5. That's the next resistance level. Now, there will probably be some around the 30K because that's typically a psychological level, but proportionally, 32.5 is the next inflection point. Now, people say, how can you come up with these levels when this is all, this is all new, these are all all-time highs. There's no history here. Well, because you can project from previous structures, right? That's what you have to do in these situations, and that's the next level that shows up. These lines that you see in my chart have all been generated that way, these dotted lines. And as you can see, there is price action that develops around those lines, right? Now, how that price action unfolds is the key to using the level. You can't look at the level and say, oh, okay, that's a resistance, I'm going to get out, or I'm just going to get short, or whatever, because then that's implying that the level is solid. The market doesn't really see the level. It's how traders react around the level. Now, at this moment, again, we have that pin bar, we have the inside bar, but what if we break out a little higher, form a double top, and then push back to that low? I'm not taking those chances, okay? I like to, for one, I focus on swing trades, number one. Number two, hey, Sean, I like to buy at support levels, okay? I don't like to buy at resistance levels. Now, if Bitcoin is going to continue higher and it's going to push to 32K or whatever, there will most likely be continuation patterns along the way. That's the thing you need to remember, all right? Just like over here, we had a continuation pattern. We managed to get a signal in there or two. We got long, and it worked out, okay? Not my favorite type of trade, but it worked out. Now, do you think Bitcoin is just going to go in a straight line like that? Some people seem to think that, but that's not realistic. That's not the norm, okay? So what I'd like to see is some sort of consolidation. Will Bitcoin test that 24K previous resistance, which is now a new potential support? Will it do that? I don't know. That's up to Bitcoin. The question is if it does it. If it does it, we know we should anticipate buying activity there. That's a good place to look for signals, okay? A high probability area where we can get a bullish reversal. We could measure risk clearly there if there's structure, and that's a potential opportunity. We know this in advance, okay? Taking a trade up here, it may go further, but you're asking for trouble, okay? That's just my opinion, because I know that typically, there is more selling activity near highs, near resistance levels. I don't care what the news is. I don't care how many companies are buying Bitcoin reserves instead of treasuries. I don't care. It means nothing to me. Okay? The only thing that means something to me is price action and levels. Because again, I'm short-term oriented. So let me ask you all a question real quick. Those of you that are in the chat room especially, when I share charts or I write perspective or analysis in the chat room, what time frame or what type of trades do you think I'm talking about usually? Do you think I'm talking about swing trades or do you think I'm talking about position trades? I'd like to hear your feedback on that. So anyway, while you guys are typing that, I'm just going to continue here. So that's the plan right now. So either we get a pullback to a support and we get a new buying opportunity. There perhaps might be an aggressive trade around this 27K level, which I'm not very interested in. But if Andrew sends it out, that's what he sends out. We don't necessarily always agree on the same trades. And if it's going to work its way to 32.5, I believe that there will be a consolidation along the way. There usually is, even if there's small ones. I mean, just to give you an idea, we had this consolidation back here that went on for about 2 weeks. We had this one here, the recent one, which went on for about a week. And now perhaps we'll get a new one. All right, those are continuation patterns, and there can be opportunities within them. Okay, so you guys are saying swing trades. Mario says swing trade. Romana says swing trade. Okay, no, I'm interested because I got some feedback saying that the stuff that I write in the chat room is confusing to people. I thought I was pretty clear as far as the type of trades, and it's swing trades. That's usually what I talk about. If I'm going to talk about a position trade or some type of investment, I usually will state that, but I never do because I don't talk about those type of trades that far out. As you all know, I'm only interested in things for the next couple of weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, but it's very short-term oriented. All right, okay, anyway, so thanks for the feedback. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Do you guys have any questions about that? Now let's take we had a good question about Litecoin in the chat room, in our free chat room, because one of our people in there said he's been long since the March low, and he wanted to know, like, what should he do with this thing? Should he hold it or should he get rid of it and wait for a pullback? Okay, now obviously that's not a swing trade. He's been long since, hey David, he's been long since the March low, right? So obviously that's more like an investment. And my suggestion was, well, for one, as we all know, Litecoin follows Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin has a dramatic retracement, I expect the same from Litecoin, right? These things do not trade on their own, not yet anyway. So that's the first thing. The second thing I suggested, why not lock some profit in because you're at a high? Take advantage of the herd mentality, all the people buying who have no idea what they're doing. That's, they're going to take it off your hands, but don't sell the whole position. Right, all in, all out it's a very hard to do that in terms of investing, right? But some people that they can't think beyond all in, all out. All in, all out is good for very short-term strategies like day trading, like swing trading. But investing is a totally different story. So I said, look, lock some in, and when it pulls back, you have an opportunity to buy more. If it doesn't really pull back, you're still in it, and if it pulls back, you'll be happy you locked something in at a high. Okay. So that's what makes you a strong hand. And then when it pulls back, you can just add back whatever it is that you sold. So when we say lock something in, it's usually, maybe 10, 20% of your position. So, for example, if you had 100 coins, you sell 20 coins or whatever, you lock in that profit. And that's it, right? Now you have some extra money. And when it pulls back, you can use that money to buy back in. Now, something on Litecoin, again, it's the same deal as Bitcoin. There's a support here at this 93 area. Okay, there's a minor support around, what is this, that 120, but I wouldn't rely too much on that 120 area because it didn't spend a lot of time here, although it popped off of it just, the other day. If we get a broad pullback on Bitcoin, I'm expecting the same out of these. Now, more importantly, let me bring something else up here. I want to show you, let's take a look at some of the popular lower priced coins like XRP. Because we've gotten a lot of questions about XRP as it pulled back. Now, most of you know that, pretty much every week I get a question about XRP. And if you've been following my analysis, you all know that I've been saying stay away from this thing because of the relative weakness, right? So the negative news came out, okay, no problem. And once that occurred, people were asking, well, this is such a great price. Should we buy it? Should we buy it? And I said, not with that ugly red candle, not when it looks like this, not like that. That's no good. So, it's starting to develop some structure now a little bit. As you can see, tried to pop up, pulled back a bit. Should you buy it now? Look, these things are still, here's the problem with them. If they were able to trade on their own, then I would say, yeah. Like that's why when we're going to look at some cannabis stocks can trade on their own. Same with electric vehicle stocks. They can trade on their own because there are many different variables driving those stocks. These coins depend on Bitcoin, okay, mostly. Money flowing into Bitcoin. Something like XRP does not trade on its own. It's been relatively weak. Now, Bitcoin, relatively speaking, is on all-time highs, okay, which is way off this chart. And this thing is just trying to find a support. I'd stay away from it. Okay, and again, I'm pointing this out not to give you specific ideas of what to do with XRP. I'm just pointing it out so you can get a sense of relative strength. Right? Look, XTZ. This is another garbage coin that was popular, not too long ago. Tezos, right? And look at this. It's starting to perk up a bit, and this may get some people interested. Oh, it came off that low. Oh, okay, higher low. Oh. And they treat this thing like it trades on its own. But again, Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum and Monero are at their highs, okay, all-time highs, and this thing is just trying to get its rally going here. So again, not a good sign. Okay, these are not good. Like so the conclusion on many of these coins, I mean, look at this, just came off that support. They're like penny stocks, and if you're going to win in them, it's like trying to play the lottery. One may go based on some news, right? I mean, you saw Theta, right? We talked about this. Theta looks all exciting and this and that, but if you looked at it previously, this price action back here, while Bitcoin was pushing highs at the same time, this thing was showing relative weakness. There was nothing attractive about it, and then this came out of nowhere, right? So can a chart help you, get into this before the fact? Not really. Not if they don't trade. If they're completely news dependent, like many penny stocks and altcoins are, then you need to be an insider and you need to know the news before everyone else does. That's the only way you're going to capture something like this with very little risk. Otherwise, you just have to throw a little money in and hope for the best. That's all you can do with these. Charts will not help you here because these things are not on their own. Okay, so I just wanted to mention those. Now, let's get into the stock market real quick so then I can get into the cannabis sector. All right, hold on a second. Is this thing giving me a hard time? Okay, now I'm getting an error message from YouTube, but I think I'm still okay. All right, so I see a couple of questions in the chat. Okay, Cardano, okay. Fundamentally, they are going to have a much superior product, all right, by around March. So I want to technically time. Okay, so we'll take a look at that, Ramana. Is forming a huge inverse head. Okay, so ADA, we'll take a look at that. Now, before I do, and again, anyone else that has a stock symbol or a coin or another market you want to see, please share it in the channel. Let me just make sure my stream is coming through okay. All right, so let's go to the stock market real quick because again, holiday week, look at the NASDAQ. All right, this started out pretty strong earlier today. It started out like this and then it kind of pulled back at the open. And now it's just making new highs. These are all-time highs in the NASDAQ. All right, we're now at 12,859, 860. This is the CFD, and it looks like it's going for 13,000. We have a higher low in place, okay, here, which is a bullish sign, and it developed inside of this. You see this large rectangle that I have on the chart. That's a reversal zone, and we're right in the middle of it still. So I've been saying it may test the top of that zone and then pull back. The point is, it's a very vulnerable area. Now, does that mean stocks are bad to buy? Well, what it should do is it should make you more cautious, okay? Especially market stocks, stocks like AMD. Now, one thing, we have a trade of the week out on this at 93.50, and let's see, look at today's high, 93.12, okay? Which means the trade is not active yet, but that's a market stock. And based on the way that NASDAQ and S&P is going, this thing should be behaving much better than this anyway. But the point is this. Where is the leadership coming from? I was looking around, and what did I find? Apple, right? Look at this, on its highs. Okay, Amazon. Okay, look at that. Nice candle on Amazon. Interesting, trying to break out of its range there. Facebook, what's going on? Oh, look at Facebook. What do all these stocks have in common? Except for Nvidia. Look, Nvidia sucks. How about what do all these stocks have in common? Oh, that's the wrong one. And okay, okay. Netflix is up $6. But what do all these have in common? They're part of the FANG, right? The FANG stocks, and it looks like they're leading today. And if that's the only thing that's driving these things, I mean, I was looking at energy stocks earlier, and it looked like they were kind of holding the S&P up in general because the oil and the S&P look very similar over the recent 2 months. In oil, there's a big component of energy stocks in the S&P. S&P is making new highs. Okay, so again, this could be misleading on a low volume week, on a holiday week, because there's no volume. Okay, there's no settling activity. It can get pushed higher. Don't be misled. All I'm saying is be cautious here. This is not a place to be optimistic. This is not a place to feel that the market is safe. This is not a place where high probability opportunities often develop, especially on a swing trade level. This is not where high probability opportunities develop. Okay. Now we may see buying opportunities in particular stocks, and like I said, certain stocks they trade on their own. And okay, fine, we can take a chance on some stocks, right? And that's what we do. We make sure our risk is relatively small, and we can take a chance on some stocks. But if there's a broad pullback, which can come out of nowhere, all you need is a little piece of news, and it comes out of nowhere, it can be dramatic, and you don't want to get caught in that. So playing these breakouts on these highs like this, it's very easy to get consumed by the news and all the optimism and everyone throwing a party and everyone's made so much money and I'm up a ton of money on Bitcoin so I can afford to gamble and blah blah blah. You need to be cautious here, okay? You don't want to overload. You don't want to get too exposed because this is not a high probability situation. Like I said, high probability situations, even if we're going to grind like this, are going to be near some sort of lows, okay? Some sort of lows which need to be established, and you can usually only see them after the fact, right? You're not going to see these as they're developing. Although back here, I had a webinar back here, and we saw this one. This was election week back here. And, that's what an opportunity generally looks like, not way up here. All right, so with that being said, that should give you some perspective generally on stocks, okay? So, whether it's pharma stocks, tech stocks, cannabis stocks, which we're going to look at next, if there's a really significant pullback, generally most stocks will feel it. Now, when you have these, if you're just having a noisy market where it's just consolidating and it doesn't really do a whole lot, stocks can do things based on news or things that are relative to their sector, right? So let's take a look at CG is the leader of the cannabis sector. Now, I'm bringing up cannabis stocks. I know we had some questions about them in the chat room earlier. I believe this sector has some potential for the coming year, and it's important to have the right ones on your list because, there are tons of them. There are like a ton of penny stocks that are in the cannabis sector, and they're like, they're pink sheets. And you want to avoid those, right? They're garbage. You want if you're going to get involved in these, they're highly speculative to begin with. You want to pick ones that at least have real promise. CGC is the best in the sector, and it's got probably the most promise. Now look at the structure recently, right? These stocks for the longest time have been uneventful. Then October found its low, and it's got this bullish structure ever since. Okay, so now this thing is trying to work its way higher. Today this thing is negative $1, right? But look at the location. So this is a much better opportunity than a lot of other things. But now, again, for a swing trade, though, even though we have this situation developing at an attractive location, because as you all know, we talk about rules, and the swing trade strategy that we follow has 3 initial rules, right? And the first rule is location. Stock has to be, or the market has to be at an attractive location. This meets that rule. The second thing, though, is setup. This does not meet that rule. All right, there's no setup here. This is just a red candle. And I don't see a pin bar. I don't see any kind of bullish candle. So this should right away go on your radar as a potential long, but it requires a setup. So what can a setup look like? We could get an inside bar tomorrow, and then the next day it takes out the high of that inside bar. That would be a long signal. Taking out the high of the inside bar would be confirmation. That, if you follow those, it will keep you out of a lot of trouble, because what people tend to do, especially if you have less experience, is you just see the level. You know, oh, that's good enough. Look, it bounced there a couple of times. I'm just going to buy it. Meanwhile, there's no evidence that others are buying, and it may break and keep going. It's possible. Or it may go just low enough to get you out and then turn. So by waiting for the setup, it really helps you filter out a lot of these false moves, okay, or a lot of noise or whatever. It keeps you, it keeps you safe, or safer, I should say. So let's take a look at another one, Tilray, right? Now, Tilray is not one of the best ones. This thing was a wild mover at one time, and now it's been much more tame. But you could see the general structure has a series of higher lows and it's trying to make higher highs. It's having trouble here at that $10 area, right? Basically that $10 area. So something like this, again, this is too tight. I'd rather see it pull back to a more significant support, like maybe around the 7.25 area. So why I'm pointing these out, the cannabis sector, is because if you're interested in them as a swing trade, you need to have a list, your watch list, and you need to have your levels in advance. Okay? Chronos, another one. This one is supposed to be good, but you know, it's been a real pain, to be honest. Look at this thing. So it's been pulling back, going right back into a support area. This is where opportunities develop, okay? Not up here, not on these potential breakouts. It gets everyone excited. Oh, breaking out. Oh, it's going back to 20 now. I'm so excited. This is the worst place to be buying. And I point that out over and over again. Now, on occasion, they break out and there's some follow through. We saw something like a Neo. We saw something like that on Blink and all that. Okay, that's fine. But a lot of the time, it will fail. Okay, and when it fails and you're caught in it, that sucks. So this is where high probability opportunities develop. Again, no setup. So keep this one on your list for location. But we need that setup, right? So many of these are going to look the same. Another one, ACB, Aurora Cannabis. Now look at this one. This one, what a pain this one's been, right? But they all look the same, don't they? They look very similar. Now, these things are pulling back while the stock market is on its highs, on a low volume, during a low volume week. The question is that relative weakness? Okay, hold on. My stream cut off. Okay, I should be back on. Let me see where I didn't realize my stream cut off. Okay, on ACB. So again, the point that I'm making here with these, in contrast to altcoins, is cannabis stocks can move on their own. They don't need the S&P. Okay, they don't depend on the S&P. They're not highly correlated. They're more dependent on sector-specific news, whereas altcoins are dependent on Bitcoin. And they really go nowhere. They don't produce anything, most of them. Most of them are junk. So they're not very reliable, okay? Now, cannabis stocks are highly speculative as well. They can fail. They can go out of business. They can have, all kinds of other drama going on, scandals, this and that, CEOs not being honest, okay, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, they still produce products, and they are also liable. The SEC has oversight on them. They are required to publish, and share financial information publicly. Altcoins don't do any of that. So at least you could see what's going on inside the company if you really want to check. All right, so I just wanted to point a few of those things out. Any questions about the cannabis sector, let me know. I mean, these are my favorite. The three that I watch the most are CGC, Chronos, and ACB. Like I said, there are many of these that are pink sheets. Okay, I don't like pink sheets either because, again, just like an altcoin, they don't have the same reporting standards. When you have reporting standards, there's a lot more transparency in the stock, and you can trust the chart in that case, because remember, charts are acting on information often that we can't see. So if chart patterns develop that means something about the underlying fundamentals. That's why I don't have to sit here and spend 20 hours a day reading about these things. All I have to do is look at a chart, okay? But I know that in certain markets, charts are not as meaningful because the fundamental information that most people have access to is not meaningful. All right, so those are the two things I wanted to cover. And real quick, let me throw some gold in there. Why not? And before I get to your questions here, gold has been trying to hold up here. Look at this bearish pin bar that's developing today. Gold is minus 6 points at 1873. This is the CFD of gold. That's a bearish pin bar. Would we short something like this? This is an aggressive short, okay? Especially in light of the dollar situation. So if gold pulls back and pulls back into the support area again, that could turn into a buying opportunity and opportunity for currencies like the euro, okay? Which are, again, it's a dollar trade. All right, so I just wanted to throw those in there. Now let's get to your stuff. Let's see how I'm doing with time, because I tend to, oh man, it's 32 minutes. I ramble too much. You have to stop me. All right, so let's get to the chat here. Let's say hi. Hey, HS, good to see you. Hack, okay, no problem. No, Hack, I didn't cover GDX yet. Well, I'm on gold though, so I might as well do that real quick, and then I'll get to the other things in the chat. So GDX, which is the gold miners ETF, this is a better choice than trading gold outright, I think, because you can control your size much better. You know, you could buy one share if you want to, and you can build a position much better, especially for longer term type stuff. You know, this type of trade, especially with the dollar weakness trade, not exactly the best for a swing trade, but you know, for a position trade. I mean, look at where this thing was in August, right? The August peak, okay, over here, basically July, August. And it took, what, 6 months for this thing to find a low in December? 6 months. To go from 44 to 33. That's a slow mover, okay? So, I mean, that's good in some ways, and it's bad in some ways. It's good because, you know, you can manage your size better, and you don't have to worry about really wild moves. But it's bad because it takes a really long time, okay? So if you want something that moves, this is definitely not it. But if gold finds that support, like I said, I would be expecting this to hold these support levels, okay? You have that 33.5 area. You have like, what, 34.5? So basically between 33.5 and 34.5, this zone right here is going to be your support zone. So if you're going to buy more GDX, it might be wise to wait, especially since gold is showing that pin bar. Maybe it'll pull back and give you a better buying opportunity. If this thing closes below 33.5, at that point, you either look for the failed low, basically it fakes everyone out. It's a great time to buy if it can produce the failed low, or you hold off and you wait for it to stabilize before putting on, you know, more of something like that. But in general, this is one gigantic higher low. Work its way out of that. So I'm bullish on gold generally. I've been bullish on gold, and there are many reasons to be bullish on gold fundamentally. Now, I don't talk a lot about fundamentals, but from a general sense, you know, I don't see any reason why the dollar should be finding strength. I don't think the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates anytime soon. They only seem to be interested, the U.S. government only seems to be interested in printing money, okay, or creating more money. That's all they seem to be interested in doing right now. So that's the thing to keep in mind. Now my signal keeps going in and out. Hold on. Yeah, I'm getting, I guess everyone's on their internet today or something. But I'm seeing this thing goes in and out, so I appreciate your patience on that. So let me get through this quickly. I want to get to your charts here. So that's GDX. All right, so Ramana, let's take a look. Let's go back to ADA. Okay, hold on a second here. Let me go back to ADA. So ADA against USD. All right. So let's see. And now this is Bitfinex. You want it on Binance? Let's see. Binance. Do I see one here on Binance? I see USD. Is there a Binance one? Oh, Binance, the first one. Okay. So here is ADA. Now, look again. This is a good example of a coin that is behaving properly. Okay, relative strength wise. So Bitcoin, as you know, is on its highs, and this thing should be on its highs, and it is. Okay, that is what we should see. All right, my internet keeps going in and out, so just bear with me on that. I think it's my internet connection to YouTube. So you're in a consolidation on ADA, and if it can close above the consolidation, which is what? Let's see, 17 and a half. So probably 1775, something like that. It needs to close above, okay? It needs to close like up here. If it can do that, you're in good shape. Then you probably have a breakout in play. And I would be expecting Bitcoin to be doing something similar. Okay, so that's an important aspect of that. Now, if you get involved, I don't know if you're in it, but if you're looking to buy it and you get involved, okay, in such an area and it fails right away, you get a bearish pin bar right away, that's probably a good idea to make an adjustment, whether it's tighten your stop or exit, for a loss or whatever it is, because that would be a failed high. And based on where Bitcoin is, Bitcoin is likely to produce a failed high, right? It's likely to pull back. And if this thing does not follow through, you could get caught in a broader pullback. You want to avoid that. So in these situations, you need to be nimble. I don't like these type of breakouts, especially when they depend on Bitcoin and Bitcoin's on its highs. If Bitcoin is breaking out from a consolidation off of its lows or off of a higher low, I would be like, okay. So that's the risk that you need to consider. But generally, though, okay, this is a strong coin. Okay, look at the structure. Since March, I see just higher lows and higher highs, right? And we're fooling around. This consolidation is a higher low consolidation. So that is all good. And at least relative strength-wise, I can't pick on this thing like I pick on the other one because it's near a high. Okay, this is what it should be doing. So you have that going for you. So it's possible that this thing can break out. Where it can go from there, I mean, you could look back at some price history here and look at some old support resistance levels. I mean, it looks like you have a resistance around here. Let me see if I could draw a line on that. Right around, so you have one here. You have one here, which you're at right now. You have one about there, right? It was like 1988, basically, like around there. And then you have one like around here somewhere, just 23 cents. So those would be potential targets or ways to measure your risk, against the reward. Okay, so just some ideas for ADA, something to keep in mind there. So again, use Bitcoin as your leader, use Bitcoin as your guide. Now, so I hope that answers your question. Now they are going to have a much superior product to Ethereum. Okay. So, all right, so with that being said, I mean, that's the thing. So maybe they'll break out, and if it breaks out, just keep in mind the risk you take. If it turns on you right away, then perhaps you adjust. Now, I'm talking about swing trades, though. If you're talking about an investment, well, that's a different story. The way to manage risk as far as an investment goes is you take a small bite on the breakout. You don't buy, if you're planning to buy, let's say you're planning to buy $1,000 worth, right? Because that's what you're comfortable with. You don't spend all $1,000 at that breakout. You don't do that. That's very risky. All right, you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk. Instead, you buy like $100 worth, right? And now you still have 90% of your money. You still have no problem, Stephen. You can always go back and watch the video. You have 90% of your money that you have not invested yet, and if it pulls back, now you can invest that money at better prices. Okay, $100 at a time. Not all 1,000. Does that make sense? So that's how I would handle something like that. Because who knows? March is a long time away. This thing could pull back. I mean, look where this thing was back in August, right? And from August till October, it pulled back, right? For basically what, almost 2 months there. So don't ever feel like you're missing out on something. If it breaks out and you want to invest, you take a small bite. When it pulls back, and it will, they all pull back, you'll have an opportunity to buy more. The common mistake people make is they buy everything at one price, and then they become a weak hand. And if it pulls back more than they're comfortable with, then they have to bang it out, or they get margined out at a bad price. And that's why people have a hard time making money. All right, it's all about good habits. So I hope that answers your question there. I mean, you definitely have a lot going for you, at least in terms of structure. Obviously, money is flowing into this, which I can't say about many other ones. All right, so Okay, at what price break this? So yeah, all right, so I answered all that. Okay, cool. Sajad, can you have a look at Nicola? Sure. All right. So anyway, if you're new to the channel here, let me know if there's any particular markets or symbols that you want to see. Please share them in the chat as I'm going through the chat here. All right, so now this thing's perking up today. Wow, look at that. This thing has been very difficult. They had some negative news about like a month ago or whatever with that GM stuff. And now look, it's been fighting very hard to hold that $14, $15 area or $16 area. It's been spending a lot of time there, okay? So what you have right here is a failed low. That is what a failed low looks like, okay? It is a failed low. Well, people, they bang out because it goes to their stop or they see it broke support. So they either get margined out of this thing or they bang it out, followed by a sharp reversal in their face. Why did I get out? They shook me out. That's a failed low. So that's actually a buy signal, okay? Now, again, this is a good place to be long. Even for a swing trade, I'd be open to it. The question that you have to ask is, what is the risk? Okay, if you buy this thing right now, which is at $16.30, it's up $2.54 today. That's a lot for this thing. You have to look at the lows, right? $13.52 is the low. So if you buy this thing right now, you're looking at basically almost $2 of risk right from the start. Okay, $2 of risk, which means you may, if this thing pulls back to that low, that's where you're taking your loss. Are you willing to risk that? The question then is, how much potential does this thing have? Well, the great thing about these electric vehicle stocks is they have a lot of potential. If this thing even goes to this level area right here, which is what, 27, 28, the high 20s, that's definitely worth the risk. You're risking $2 to try to make 10. Definitely worth the risk. So I like it. I like the location. I like the setup. I mean, you have everything lined up here. I like this a lot. This for long options, deep out of the money options, where you buy, like a $30 call, 6 months. You need at least 6 months. Don't sit there and buy 2 months out and think that's a lot of time. This thing takes weeks to do stuff sometimes. So you need a minimum of 6 months. And if you can get it real cheap, like a $30 call 6 months out, if you can get that for $1, or maybe a little over $1 or less than $2, if it gets to that point, if it gets to 30 in less than 6 months, then that option will, okay, maybe even more. So that's something to consider. What's nice about option is if this thing turns to garbage instead, your risk is limited to whatever you pay for that option. So if you only paid $2 for it, right, so you risk $200 per contract, that's what you're going to lose. All right, so that's a nice thing, and you don't have to worry about placing a stop and all other stuff because that's your maximum risk, and that's it. Either it's going to do its thing or it's not. Okay, but this I like the failed low situations. Yeah, I like it. I like it as a long, definitely. So those are some things to consider, and I wouldn't be the other mistake not to make or to avoid is think that Nicola is going to go to 100, or that Nicola, it's going to go to 40 because it was there before. It might go there. It's possible, but people may have thought that back here too, and you can see it failed, right? It failed because that GM news came out. So it's best usually to find a reasonable price, and I would say the $30 area, reasonable. If it does start to go somewhere, if it starts to get spectacular, that's when you start trailing a stop. A good example of that is Jumia. Right now, Jumia now is pulling back, but this thing had a run from basically $13 to $48. There was some noise in between, as you can see, which is very hard to hold on to. But, if you manage to hold on to that, you could see that's quite a move, right? Can Nicola do something like that? It's possible. You just have to be able to sit through these nasty pullbacks, which is very hard to do, especially in something like Nicola, which is, failed before. All right, so something to keep in mind. But as a buy and in terms of reward risk, yeah, definitely good. In fact, this may be the trade of the week tomorrow. I don't know. We have to see what Andrew comes up with, but I liked it. I would call this as trade of the week. All right, and that's for the Talking Market Show. By the way, if you haven't seen the Talking Market Show, go to, it's on the YouTube channel here. Just go through the videos. Every week we do Talking Markets with Mark and Andrew. It's our podcast. And Andrew and Henry are usually on the show, and we talk about fundamentals a little bit more and give each other a hard time about stuff. It could be very helpful, especially if you have questions about specific things and specific investing ideas. So it's more long-term oriented, even though I still talk about swing trades on there. All right, you guys. So that's Nicola. Definitely like it. Thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, hack, no problem. So I covered GDX. Okay, HS. I'm just running through the chat here. I see my stream is giving me a hard time again. Okay. All right. So do I have any other questions? Any other questions? Oh, 45 minutes. I don't have a lot of questions today, but that's cool. Any other questions before, I have a few more minutes. We can talk about some things. Let's talk about Workhorse. All right. You guys know Workhorse. It's another electric vehicle stock. Now look at this. Look how noisy this thing, right? The other day it was looking good. Now it's not looking so good, right? Does this really mean anything? Well, as long as it holds this support at $20, it's just consolidating. If it closes below this support, then that's not good. Okay, that means it may test the low, the November low, which can be painful if you have it from a bad price. That's why it's so important to really have your trades defined in advance. So when a swing trade, as you know, when we send out swing trade ideas, here, let's go take a look at AMD, right? Because AMD is our most recent swing trade idea, or trade of the week, which, by the way, if you're signed up as a free member at greenbridgeinvesting.com, you automatically get this email. We send this email to everyone so people can see how our strategy works and how the orders look and all that stuff. So these are the orders that were sent out. This is what we send out. Okay, we don't send out. I don't think we've sent out any shorts, at least not for stocks. Okay, not in a while anyway. So usually it's a buy stop, right? A stop loss, and then 3 targets, and then your reward risk. So we use this buy stop technique, which helps to keep you out of trouble. It's not perfect, but I can't tell you how many times this technique has kept us out of getting stopped out. And saving those stop outs, being able to avoid those stop outs really helps you make money over time. Okay, because too many stops really, they erode your account and it makes it much harder. Things are hard enough to begin with. So we like to make the market work, right? And that's why we use a buy stop. Now, so that's an important consideration. So also, again, having that stop loss, again, this is a pre-planned trade. As you can see, the orders are known in advance. We know we're getting in, we know we're getting out where we're wrong. We have 3 targets that, the market will either risking relative to the reward. That's it. It's up to the market from there. Okay. Sunrun, another one. This is one that we called a while back, right? This is going back like 2 months, I think. We called this one. It was a trade of the week also. Now look what it's done, right? It went to our first target eventually. It took like 2 months. Never got stopped out, although we had to sit through this nonsense right here. We also had to sit through some of this nonsense over here. Here, let me show you this garbage, right? We had to sit through that garbage. Eventually, it worked its way, and it found its way to target 1 at 69.50. This thing was as high as 74.08 today, and it's back to 67 or 68. What's going on with this thing? Right? So it's very noisy, and you have to be able to sit through that and let the market do its job. Now, will it go to target 2? I don't know. But we're not going to sit here and react to every little thing, right? That's usually not a good idea. So we just have to let the market work. All right. Now the next target is 78.50. We'll have to see how it goes. This thing may pull all the way back to its entry price. It's possible, but we've exited 1/3 at 69.50, or at least you should have, right? And that at least makes you a stronger hand because now you only have 2/3 the risk instead of the full risk. Again, this is very particular to swing trades. This is not investing. Right, much different mentality. So just want to point a few of those out. Okay, do I have any other questions about any stocks? So I went over Bitcoin. I went over the cannabis sector, the stocks that I like in that sector and how they're doing, what we should be looking out for. I answered your questions. I really like that, Nicola. How are other stocks doing in that sector? Let's check out like FUV. That's not a good looking chart. That's not looking good at all. How about let's see, there's WWR, Westwater Resources. This is another electric vehicle related stock. Not doing that great there. Okay, it's consolidating. What about Blink. How's Blink doing? We had a huge trade in Blink, right? Blink is giving it back there. That's why you have to take your profits, right? Andrew sent out a bunch of exits since like Wednesday of the week before. He's been sending out nothing but exit this, exit that, exit this, right? You have to take your profits. Litecoin. Steven wants to know about Litecoin. Sure, we'll take a look at Litecoin again. So I mentioned this earlier. Litecoin, similar to Bitcoin, right? It's got that pin bar in there, the wide range doji from the day before, and now it's giving us the pin bar, okay? Hasn't closed yet, but that's a bearish sign. Keep in mind, like I said, it follows Bitcoin. It does not trade on its own. That's what we have to treat these differently. Like I just went over Cannabis Stocks. I went over some electric vehicle stocks. They trade on their own. They can, because like I said, there are different variables driving them. Litecoin, what different variable is driving Litecoin? Nothing really. I mean, most of these, Litecoin is just following Bitcoin as it should. So if Bitcoin pulls back, this is going to pull back. If Bitcoin doesn't pull back, then this is just, give some false signals and then go higher. Like look back here, right? If you went by these candles here, oh, inside bar, took out the low of the inside bar. It's a sell signal. Oh, I'm going to jump out of Litecoin. It's going to go lower, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes higher because it's following Bitcoin. So the signals in these specific things are not as reliable. You have to depend on Bitcoin. Now, you could use a signal and a setup, something like Litecoin or Ethereum or whatever it is that you're interested in, ADA. You can use the signal to help you gauge your entry and gauge your risk. And you could use historical price action to gauge targets, okay? But you have to realize that they don't trade on their own. So if Bitcoin fails, I don't care how many buy signals you have in this thing, it's going to fail also. So use the signals in Bitcoin also, or consider them. So like, for example, Bitcoin right now is going to show potential buy signal. The potential buy signal is this inside bar that's developing, and it may close this way. If that inside bar closes and we take out the high of the inside bar, that's going to be a buy signal. And like I said, Andrew might send that out because he likes those aggressive trades. I don't. That is not my style at all. So, it's going to be up to him on that one. And some people will take it because they'll just take anything. I don't like the probability of this location. Now, can I be wrong? And can Bitcoin run higher no matter what I think? Of course. I've been wrong many times. But usually in these situations, when I'm wrong, I'm not losing anything because I'm not in it. Okay, I'm not shorting it, that's for sure. You all know we don't short Bitcoin, right? We're very clear about that. And it's funny, I don't get questions about that anymore. But back when Bitcoin used to be more range bound, people used to, how come you don't short Bitcoin? I don't understand. There's so much money to be made on the short side. People don't ask me to short Bitcoin, and we're not about to start now. My point is, if we get, if this turns to a buy signal and it starts to go, it could run higher, but the probability of the area it's just very risky. So what could you do? What if you want to take the trade? What if you're like, oh, but I'm aggressive, I want to take it. Okay, just you have to be quick about it if it turns the wrong way. So if you get the buy signal, okay, and this will be the same for Litecoin. That's why I'm showing you Bitcoin again. If you get the buy signal, takes out the high, which is what? 24,473. So you have to give it some more room. So you figure 27.5, right? 27.5 would be your entry. If it goes there and it fails right away, all right, it fails. You get a bearish pin bar. So it tries to go like, all right, yeah, it's going, and then it turns into a pin bar and it's not looking so hot. You need to be nimble, and you need to make an adjustment. Either you tighten your stop, you reduce your position size, or you just get out. But it fails here. If it fails in this area, it's very possible to retest like the 24K low, the support. That's where the support is right now. Maybe it'll find support sooner than that, but right now, structurally, that's where support is. So do you want to buy it at 27.5 and then bang it out at 23.5? No, you don't want to do that. So if you want to take that aggressive trade, you have to be very nimble. Now, of course, if Andrew sends something like that out, he'll have a tight stop in there. You have to make sure you respect that stop. Some people, they don't put the stop. They're just like, whatever. These guys are usually wrong about the stops. They usually get stopped out and it goes higher anyway. And then there'll be that one time where Bitcoin pulls back 4,000 points and you would have been much happier if you respected the stop. So no matter what, it's usually a good idea on those swing trades. Again, we're talking about swing trades, to respect those stops. Position trade, people ask, can I buy now? The usual answer is if you want to buy at these prices, you got to buy small. You have to buy small. Invest, I say you invest $50, $100, because this thing is likely to pull back. Why would you put all $1,000 at risk at such a high price? It's ridiculous. You want to be more aggressive with your buy, you're investing at low prices where people are banging out, where the herd is getting shaken out of their position. That's where the opportunities really are. Okay, I don't care that people say Bitcoin's going to 100,000. I don't care about how it's different this time. I've heard that a million times. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the news is. Things pull back. They don't go in a straight line because it's all about order flow and supply and demand of order flow. There's some piece of news that no one's paying attention to, comes out of nowhere. The insiders know about it. They've gotten out, and now you're stuck in it. Okay? And no one saw it coming. And then everyone changes their mind. Everyone, Bitcoin was going to 100,000, but now it's going to 18,000. So, yeah, right. Okay, so again, it's all about good habits and bad habits. Bad habits, buying highs. That's a bad habit. It works sometimes, but it doesn't work over time. A good habit, buying something that's strong and buying it on its lows, right? That's a good habit. Chances are it will go your way relatively quickly, and you're getting on the right side of the trend. Right? You're buying into weakness, in temporary weakness, in something that is strong. All right, so that's what you have to keep in mind. Otherwise, you get in at a bad price and you become a weak hand, and then you are at mercy of the market and of your own psychology, your own fear and greed. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that. I've been talking about an hour now, and as Michael has pointed out and others have pointed out, I tend to talk a lot, and I could talk about the weather for an hour. So yeah, we should probably cut this off now. So do I have any other questions before I wrap this up? And I don't know, my internet connection's really unstable today. I don't know, maybe Google is just not happy with my analysis and they're trying to censor me again. Okay. Right. Okay. No problem. Yeah, my signal is all over the place here. So like I was saying, please press the like button if you like the video. And I'm sorry about these signal cutoffs. It's my ISP again. Also, please make sure you check out our website, greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email, portfolio management ideas by text, by email, and we have a chat room where we share a lot of insight and trade ideas and updates to our trade ideas. A lot of stuff, a lot of information going on. Really, really helps to build confidence, especially in these very confusing environments at times. Okay, so I want to thank you all for taking the time here with me and asking great questions. If I missed your question, or if a question comes to you after, hey, come to our chat room. We have a free chat room. You can ask in there as well. We may not get to it as quickly, but it's in there. Just go to greenbridgeinvesting.com. All right, no problem. All right, Stephen, everyone, Hack, Sajed, Ramana, and everyone else, HS, thank you all again, and I will see you in the chat room tomorrow. And remember, we have Talking Markets with Mark and Andrew at this time tomorrow. If you can check that out as well, please do. All right, everyone, thank you for watching.